Hello, family, and happy Thursday. Today, we need to talk about day 2 of their humanitarian trip to Jordan. So, day 2 in Amman, and tell me why this feels like the kind of royal visit people pretend they want from the monarchy, but only seem to get from the couple who left it. Let's get into it. On the second day of their humanitarian trip to Jordan, Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, visited World Central Kitchen at its Jordan country office. And I need people to really sit with that for a second. Let that sink in fully. World Central Kitchen is not a photo op charity. It's not a ribbon cutting foundation where you show up, clap politely, cut a ribbon, sip tea with donors, and leave with nice photos for the annual report. This is boots on the ground, feeding people in war zones work. This is logistics under pressure, supply chains through conflict zones, trucks navigating dangerous roads, coordination with multiple agencies and governments, real food for real families who are experiencing unimaginable hardship and displacement. World Central Kitchen, founded by chef Jose Andres, operates in some of the most challenging environments on Earth: natural disasters, war zones, refugee camps, places where infrastructure has collapsed and traditional aid channels struggle to reach people. They don't wait for perfect conditions, they show up. And Harry and Meghan showed up to meet with the teams making that happen. Harry and Meghan met with the regional teams coordinating food aid into Gaza and surrounding areas. Let's pause there and acknowledge the weight of that. Gaza, not a comfortable, easy, politically neutral topic. Gaza, where there is active conflict, humanitarian crisis, massive civilian suffering, and international debate about what's happening and who's responsible. Most public figures with global brands avoid Gaza like it's radioactive. The politics are messy, the optics are complicated. You can't make everyone happy. Someone will be angry no matter what you say or do. So many celebrities and royals stick to safe humanitarian causes, clean water projects that no one can argue against, education initiatives everyone supports, medical research that's politically neutral. But Harry and Meghan went to meet with teams coordinating food aid into one of the most contested, complicated, politically fraught situations in the world right now. That's not glamorous. There's no tiara lighting in Amman discussing humanitarian logistics. There's no red carpet energy. Just hard conversations about hunger, displacement, blockades, and how to get meals to people who desperately need them while navigating incredibly complex political and logistical challenges. That takes courage. That takes a willingness to prioritize impact over image protection. And here's what stands out about how they conducted this visit. They didn't just walk through, nod solemnly with concerned faces, take a few photos, and bounce to the next event. They engaged with staff. They asked questions. They learned about supply chains and the specific challenges teams face. They listened, actually listened, to the people doing the work on the ground. You know, the thing public figures are supposed to do when they claim to care about causes. But so often, celebrity charity visits follow a script. Arrive, get briefed by leadership, see a carefully curated version of the work, take photos, make a donation, and leave. The actual workers barely interact with the famous visitor. The visit is managed for maximum efficiency and minimum messiness. Harry and Meghan have consistently shown that they operate differently. They want to understand the mechanics. They want to hear from people doing the day-to-day work. They don't just want the sanitized executive summary. And that matters because it signals respect for the work itself, not just the branding opportunity it might provide. Then came something even more powerful and personally meaningful. They joined a WHO delegation at the National Center for Rehabilitation of Addicts. Addiction recovery, mental health, healing in one of its most vulnerable, stigmatized forms. Now think about that context for a moment. Really sit with it. In a region dealing with active war, massive displacement, multi-generational trauma, economic instability, and overwhelming stress, addiction and mental health challenges are not abstract issues. They're survival issues. Recovery work in this context is not just medical treatment, it's emotional survival. It's rebuilding identity after trauma. It's finding hope in circumstances designed to destroy it. And Harry and Meghan chose to spend time there, not for a dramatic photo opportunity. Addiction treatment centers don't exactly provide glamorous backdrops, but because it aligns with their values and their understanding of what humanitarian work actually means. Prince Harry wrote a message in the center's guest book. It's okay not to be okay. Trust each other. Congratulations on your recovery. Let's break that down because every word matters. Simple, direct, human. No royal formality, no distant platitudes, no "we commend your efforts" or "we acknowledge your struggles" language that sounds like it came from a palace communications office. Just words that sound like they came from someone who has wrestled with his own storms and decided not to hide that anymore. It's okay not to be okay. That sentence carries enormous weight, especially from Harry. You can almost hear the subtext. He's been extraordinarily public about therapy, about grief after losing his mother, about trauma from growing up in an invasive media environment, about the psychological cost of royal life. He's not speaking as a distant royal figure bestowing wisdom from above. He's speaking as someone who understands from lived experience that recovery is not linear, that mental health struggles are not weaknesses, that asking for help is strength. Trust each other. That's about community, about connection, about the reality that recovery happens in relationship, not isolation, that we heal together, not alone. And then, congratulations on your recovery, framing it as an achievement, as something worthy of celebration and recognition, not something to be ashamed of or hidden. The entire message shifts the narrative from stigma to strength, and that shift is significant. Meghan's message was equally powerful in its own way. Congratulations on your dedication to your care, wishing you continued healing and happiness. That wording matters enormously. Every word is chosen with intention. Dedication to your care. She's framing recovery as active effort, as something that requires commitment, persistence, courage. She's acknowledging that healing is work, hard work that deserves recognition. Not congratulations on getting better, as if recovery just happens passively, but dedication to your care. Recognizing that choosing to take care of yourself, especially in difficult circumstances, is an act of strength. It's gentle, but deeply empowering. It centers dignity while acknowledging struggle. She always does this. There's a way Meghan centers human dignity in her words and her presence. It's subtle, but once you notice it, you see it everywhere. She doesn't talk down to people. She doesn't speak in that patronizing, "we're here to help you poor souls" tone that sometimes creeps into charity work. She speaks to people as equals, deserving respect and recognition. What's absolutely fascinating to me, what I can't stop thinking about, is this. Harry and Meghan left an institution that thrives on emotional suppression, that operates on never complain, never explain, that treats mental health struggles as weakness or failure, that prioritizes image over well-being. And now they're in Jordan writing notes to people in addiction recovery saying, "It's okay not to be okay." That contrast is not subtle. That contrast is a neon sign. This is what post-palace service looks like. Not balcony waves to crowds, not military medals pinned on for ceremony, not ribbon cutting at galas where the wealthy congratulate themselves for caring. Actual proximity to people rebuilding their lives under difficult circumstances. Actual engagement with the messy, complicated, unglamorous work of humanitarian aid and mental health support. Actual vulnerability and authenticity about struggle and recovery. And I know that someone somewhere is furiously typing right now. They're only doing this for PR. It's all for their image. They're using humanitarian crises for publicity. Okay, sure. Let's engage with that cynicism for a moment. Because nothing screams easy PR win like addiction rehabilitation centers and refugee food logistics, right? Publicists absolutely love complex humanitarian crises with no easy solutions and massive political controversy. So glamorous, such simple narratives, really moves the needle with casual followers. Come on. If they wanted easy, positive PR, they'd stick to puppies and children's hospitals and environmental initiatives everyone agrees on, safe causes, photogenic moments, uncomplicated narratives. Instead, they're discussing food aid into Gaza and visiting addiction treatment centers. The truth is, this is completely consistent with their track record since leaving royal duties. Mental health has been Harry's primary focus for years, from the Invictus Games community to extraordinarily open conversations about his own therapy and healing journey. Meghan has consistently emphasized self-care, emotional well-being, women's empowerment, and supporting people in vulnerable circumstances. This Jordan visit fits perfectly into that established pattern. It's not random, it's not opportunistic, it's aligned. And I'm going to say something that might be slightly inconvenient for their critics. When you see Harry and Meghan in places like this, meeting with aid workers, supporting recovery patients, engaging with humanitarian organizations doing difficult work in challenging circumstances, all the noise fades. The tabloid obsession with their every move looks small and petty. The endless culture war debates about whether they should have left, whether they're good or bad, whether they deserve sympathy or criticism, all of that looks trivial. Because while people are arguing online about who curtsied to whom at some event in 2018, or whether Meghan's body language at a wedding revealed some hidden drama, or what Harry's memoir really meant about some family interaction, while all that noise is happening in comment sections and tabloid columns, Harry and Meghan are in Jordan, sitting with teams coordinating food into active conflict zones. That's perspective. That's what actually matters. Can we also talk about the symbolism and strategy of choosing Jordan for a moment? This matters more than it might seem. Jordan has long been a humanitarian hub in the Middle East region. The country hosts millions of refugees, it coordinates massive amounts of international aid, it acts as a stabilizing force in an incredibly volatile region. It has sophisticated infrastructure for humanitarian work. So choosing Amman as a focal point for this visit is strategic in important ways. It centers regional expertise instead of swooping in with Western savior energy. It acknowledges that the people and organizations doing this work most effectively are often regional. They understand the culture, the language, the politics, the networks. They have relationships and trust built over years or decades. Harry and Meghan positioning themselves as learners and supporters rather than leaders or saviors, that shows understanding of how effective humanitarian work actually functions. That matters. It shows sophistication about international development work that many celebrities lack. And those handwritten notes at the rehabilitation center, those might seem like small gestures, just a few sentences in a guest book, easy to dismiss as symbolic. But for someone in recovery, someone fighting every day to rebuild their life, someone battling stigma and shame, someone struggling to believe they're worth the effort, a few words of recognition from people they recognize can land incredibly hard in the best possible way. Especially when the message is not preachy, not lecturing, not condescending, just affirming. It's okay not to be okay. That sentence hits because so many systems, royal systems, corporate systems, family systems, cultural systems, reward emotional suppression. They reward the appearance of having it all together. They punish vulnerability. Harry saying the opposite, publicly, consistently, in multiple contexts over years, that's kind of radical in a stiff upper lip world that still often treats mental health struggles as character failures. You can disagree with Harry about other things. You can critique his choices or his approach or his public statements about family matters, but you cannot say he hasn't been remarkably consistent about mental health advocacy and anti-stigma messaging. There's something else I really appreciate about day 2 of this Jordan visit. It wasn't flashy. No dramatic speeches delivered to large audiences, no global stage announcements, no declarations meant to generate international headlines. Just service visits, listening, learning, writing notes of encouragement, showing up, quiet work, steady work, unglamorous work. And I know you can see the bigger narrative arc here if you step back and look at the full picture. Harry and Meghan left an environment that, by their own detailed account, often minimized mental health struggles, resisted accountability, prioritized institutional protection over individual well-being, and treated vulnerability as liability. Now, they're working consistently with organizations that confront trauma head-on, that treat mental health as fundamental, that center human dignity and healing. That's not accidental. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. You can call it rebranding if you want to be cynical. You can call it reinvention if you want to be neutral. Or you can call it what it probably actually is: alignment. People often grow toward the causes that mirror their own lived experience, that help them make meaning from their own struggles, that allow them to transform personal pain into purpose. And honestly, if public figures with massive platforms are going to leverage their visibility and privilege for anything, food security and mental health recovery support are incredibly solid choices. These are fundamental human needs: food, safety, mental health, recovery, dignity. These aren't luxury causes. These aren't trendy. These aren't the issues that generate the most social media engagement or the most positive press. But they're essential. They're life or death for the people experiencing them. And no crown is required to do this work. No royal title is necessary. No institutional backing is needed. Just commitment, resources, willingness to show up. Platform used responsibly. There's something steady about this entire Jordan visit, something grounded and forward-focused. It's not reactive, not responding to critics or trying to prove something to detractors. It's not combative, not making points about the institution they left or positioning themselves against anyone. It's not defensive, not justifying their choices or their lives. It's forward-looking. It's humanitarian. It's focused entirely on the work and the people they're there to support. And that quiet consistency probably irritates their loudest detractors more than anything else possibly could. Because chaos is easier to attack than competence. Drama is easier to criticize than dignity. Scandal is easier to mock than service. When someone just keeps showing up, keeps doing meaningful work, keeps operating with integrity and consistency, that's much harder to dismiss or diminish. At the end of day 2, what we're left with is this: 2 people in Amman, Jordan, meeting aid workers coordinating food into conflict zones, supporting recovery patients battling addiction and mental health challenges, writing words of encouragement that center dignity and humanity, highlighting organizations that feed people and help rebuild lives. Not scandal, not spectacle, not drama, not controversy. Service. Just service. And if someone still wants to reduce all of that to tabloid punchlines, to cynical takes about PR and image management, to dismissive comments about attention-seeking, that says far more about them than it does about the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. There's something genuinely grounding about watching people choose impact over noise, choose service over spectacle, choose substance over style. Does it fix the world? No. Does it solve every crisis? Of course not. But it nudges things in a better direction. It supports organizations doing critical work. It brings attention to issues that desperately need it. And in a year where the news cycle feels like it's permanently set to alarming, where everything feels urgent and chaotic and overwhelming, That kind of steadiness is not nothing. That kind of consistent, values-driven work matters. So yes, day 2 in Amman wasn't flashy. It wasn't designed for viral moments or headline-grabbing quotes. It was focused, it was humane, it was intentional. It was aligned with their stated values and their demonstrated priorities. And sometimes, often actually, the quiet work is the real headline. Sometimes the most important stories aren't the loudest ones. Sometimes showing up, listening, supporting, and affirming is exactly what's needed. Harry and Meghan showed up. They're doing the work, and that work speaks for itself. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you appreciate this kind of thoughtful coverage of their humanitarian work, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep celebrating meaningful service. Until next time, stay focused on what actually matters and keep supporting the people doing real work in the world. I'll see you in the next one.